What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one, I'm going to be talking about the one and only Tesla stock and give you guys a preview for next week because I think it's going to be a big week for the markets, for the stock market, for the real estate market, and so on and so forth, and will have an effect on Tesla's share price. I'm also going to mention something Elon Musk mentioned about our economy and why on earth I think he's correct about his claim and why on earth this is actually good for the stock market as well. Now, before I break anything down about Elon Musk, before I talk about what's going on with Tesla's share price, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner, so don't take any of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $2,500. And you could always sell these 12 free stocks for cash and use that cash to buy some Tesla shares for free. This is a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 10 days, so please check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So Tesla was down 6.63% for the day. In my previous video, I wasn't sure what Tesla would really do in response to this. So I did tell you guys I thought it would actually hold at least 900, but it ended up dropping much lower than that, especially considering the fact that we had the stock split announced and we had some really good news. So it wasn't really expected for it to do something like this, but at the same time, it was kind of overbought in this range. So it wasn't like, it was kind of surprising, but at the same time, it wasn't in a sense. So what happened was, I mentioned to you guys, if Tesla dropped to like below 920, I would expect this thing to maybe test 900. And if 900 didn't hold, I would look out for 881. You guys can see right here, it drops to around that 880 range, got a slight bounce, then ended up dropping to the next key zone. And I highlighted that at $858 a share. That's the next key zone I was looking at. Where did Tesla bottom out today? $856. So I was very close. I was $2 off from my absolute bottom that I was talking about yesterday. So it just goes to show that these support and resistance levels do have merit. So the next zone that I'm looking out for if Tesla were to continue to drop a bit, which is very possible, would be around that 830 to 840 range, like right around here. I do think Tesla could come and test this before getting a nice bounce, but I don't see Tesla just crashing all the way down to the 700s as of right now. I think it might get a nice bounce pretty soon because we also have a gap up here. There's this nice gap up here, and we do have the stock split coming relatively soon. At the time I'm recording this, I don't have the specific date for you guys, but it is going to come out soon. And once we know the date, this is going to be pretty good for Tesla because from the options chain, we could see some nice moves thanks to that. So I do expect a lot of volatility for Tesla. I'm not going to give you guys my price prediction for Monday yet. I'm going to do that on Sunday. But right now, I want to talk about something very important about next week, the week that's coming up. So right now, the markets are currently pretty neutral. We did see some bullish moves. We saw SPY hold up pretty darn well. And this is a good sign for the markets. But the one concerning thing I have about these markets is, yeah, Tesla does have some gaps up here. It might push up again, but we do have a lot of gaps down. And I do think the market is going to come down again. Now, to what degree is the market going to come down? Is the SPY going to crash down to like, I don't know, like 320 a share? I don't necessarily think so. I think that the SPY is not, it's very possible that the SPY was actually not that far from the absolute bottom when it touched 362. So this means that either 362, in my opinion, could be the bottom, or what could be happening is we may make a new bottom in the future, but it may not be that far from it. Maybe like 350 at the lowest, maybe a little bit lower than that. So my point is, in order for us to understand this, in order for us to know how low the bottom may be, we have to look at data. Data is going to be one of the good ways of actually figuring this out because we know the SPY is eventually most likely going to come back down. We have gaps at like 408, right? We have another gap at 390, 380, 370, 360. There's so many gaps down there. They're most likely going to get filled in the future, especially as we approach the FOMC meeting for the next month. So I wouldn't be surprised if for the month of September, if we do start to fill a lot of these gaps. So that's essentially my view of the markets. But until then, the market could still hold up and we could still see some nice bullish price action from Tesla again, thanks to the stock split being an external factor. So I'm still kind of bullish for Tesla. I still think this thing could fill the gap up here, especially after the split. It could still make some nice moves, but eventually as we approach September, I do think Tesla is going to come back down. Now, the question is, how low will Tesla go? And like I mentioned, it depends on the data. And this is where what Elon Musk said comes into play. Elon Musk said that he believes the global economy is past peak inflation. He does believe that the inflation rate has peaked, and until then, based off current trends, it should start to come down from here. So Elon Musk actually said that in Austin, Texas. That's a very good sign for the markets because it not only affects the trajectory of the Fed, but also the path the markets are going to take. And I'm going to give you guys some context about this. So the market is very strange right now. We had the jobs report come out for the month of July, and it was actually a pretty good jobs report. We saw 303,000 jobs that increased for part-time workers, and we are seeing big improvements. So the market is kind of confused right now. Are we like in this big recession where everything's going to take a big hit, or are jobs just improving? Are we seeing big improvements in a lot of companies' revenues and so on and so forth? The markets basically kind of changed their expectations for a lot of these earnings, and markets have done relatively well and beat a lot of expectations in a different sectors, such as Apple or Amazon. Even Tesla did pretty decently despite all the hardships on their end. So the markets are confused, but in my opinion, I don't always pay too much attention to jobs reports because they don't affect the markets as much as some people think. The market is kind of responded in either direction, whether it's good or bad. But what is very important is what's coming out next week. And this is why it ties into what Elon Musk said. We have on August 10th, 2022 at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, we have the big CPI report coming out, and this is going to be huge. Now, what's my personal opinion of this? This is going to help us understand, did inflation peak? Because if inflation truly peaked for the month of June, because remember guys, for July, when the report came out in July for the month of June, and right now we're in just barely in the start of August, the CPI report is gonna come out for the month of July because August isn't done yet. It's going to come out. So when the last report came out, it basically showed a giant spike in inflation. And I'm going to show you it right over here. I think the chart is somewhere like right here. And you could see right here for the month of June, we had this big spike that was reported last month in July. And this is with gas and energy and all that. It was super high, above 9%. But if you exclude food and energy, it was actually still on this downtrend. So what I'm essentially seeing is energy is going to play a big role in what we end up seeing. So right now, we had reports coming out at least a few weeks ago that mortgages are actually, the demand for them is dropping to very, very low numbers. So we are seeing the federal fund rate hikes from the Fed affecting the real estate sector. But it's going to kind of transcend itself into the economy going forward and kind of slowly. Now we are starting to see some layoffs. So I do believe, unfortunately, we may see more layoffs in the future. But right now, it may not be as bad as some people are projecting. Additionally, I want to talk about this right here. Look at gas prices. Gas prices make up a large sector of CPI. So if you look at CPI real quick, energy makes up 41.6% of the number. So because of that, when you look at CPI including food and energy, which is typically what people often look at, we have to look at how gas prices may inflate it or affect it. And you can see right here, according to the data, the average gas price for the month of June was the highest we saw for the year. In fact, it was one of the highest we saw in history right here. And obviously, it's accounting for inflation. So that's not the perfect way of looking at it. But, anyways, $5. That was the average for June in the United States per gallon for retail. That's crazy, right? For July, it went down to about $4.69. So that's about a 40-cent decrease, almost a 40, maybe like 30 or so cent decrease on average, which is actually some progress. So we actually saw it go down. For July, gas was actually about very close to what the prices were for May. And we could see the CPI report showed inflation was like at 8.3, 8.4% in May overall. If you show food and energy. So I do believe we're going to see a big decrease for the month of July. The next report that's coming out in a couple of days, once again on the 10th of August, it's going to show a decrease in CPI, and that's going to be most likely a good state for the markets. Now, let's just say I'm wrong, and my prediction is wrong. Let's say Elon Musk is hypothetically wrong about what he said too. If inflation is going up again, if the data suggests that, the market's not going to like it. The market's going to take a hit, in my opinion. It's not going to be good for the markets because the Fed is going to have to be even more hawkish and maybe raise rates even more times over. The market will not like that. But I don't see that happening. I think it's more likely we're going to see it start to cool off from here, just as Elon Musk said. And that's why next week is going to be very important. It's going to really confirm this and show us if inflation is starting to go down, this means that the Fed is finally doing something that led to something that's actually decreasing inflation. Now, does that mean the Fed raising rates is directly doing it? The answer is no. When the Fed does that, the response of our economy, the response of consumer behavior, that is what is going to cause CPI to go down. And right now, we're seeing lots of signs that are suggesting that, just like what Elon Musk said, which means he's most likely correct about what he said. So, if that's the case, if inflation truly is starting to downtrend, that's the first good sign for the markets because it means that if the markets are like still going to drop again, which I think they will eventually, let's just look at like Tesla and SPY for instance, they don't have to tumble way lower. If the CPI report comes out as high, it means the Fed has to be even more hawkish. The Fed has to be more strict on policy. SPY could drop much harder, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen that way. It seems like it's going to come and start to show some signs of a decrease. So even if the market were to drop again in the future, it could come down to that, like the SPY, for instance, could come down to that low that we saw, maybe a little bit lower, but I wouldn't expect it to go much lower than that. At least that's what the data is now suggesting, because a lot of this damage has been priced in. So in my honest opinion, there are signs that the SPY is going to come back down to the 360s again, maybe around the month of September, but I don't think it's going to be that bad. I don't think it's going to go much lower than that if the data shows that, and it most likely will. With that said, what does this mean for Tesla? Well, Tesla's low. Let me actually hide my drawings. They're kind of weird when I put this on a bigger time frame. Tesla dropped all the way down to 620 a share. This suggests that the true bottom of Tesla, if inflation is truly coming down, it might not be extremely far from that. Now, I'm not saying 620 is the bottom. It could have been the bottom, but what I'm trying to say is if Tesla were to come down in the future, it could come to maybe like the high 500s, and that could be the true bottom, right? It's very possible. Maybe even 620 could be the bottom if this thing gets a bounce off there, if a lot of buyers step in those ranges. So it's just going to show that next week is going to be the time where we find out how much more will the market take. Is inflation truly at its peak? Did we truly see the peak? Is it truly going to start coming down from here? Because if it starts decreasing from here, the market could actually start to recover a little bit quicker than some people think. And the market, when it comes to its bottom, we may not actually drop much lower than the lows we saw. The market could actually improve a lot, show lots of signs of consolidation. It could start to reaccumulate at the bottom, and then we could enter that capitulation phase when we start to see that big rally. So my point is, I want to see inflation start to come down. The market will improve a lot as that slowly happens. Once again, not immediately, but slowly but surely. And next week is going to be the time where we find out. At least we see some data that really helps us understand this. So I think that's most likely what's going to happen. I don't think Tesla is going to drop like way lower than where this thing ended up dropping to. I think 620 is pretty close to where that bottom was. And if it does drop a little lower, I don't expect it to be so much worse than that. I don't see Tesla going down to like the 300s like some people think. I think that's way too low. That's just my view. That's just my honest opinion. So let's just wait and see how the data comes out as. We'll have to see how the Fed responds as well. But so far, I'm starting to see signs that inflation is going to start downtrending from here, and that's going to be a good sign for the long-term future of the markets. So that doesn't mean Tesla's just going to immediately go to all-time highs. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if Tesla were to start dropping even after the split, maybe around September, if Tesla does start dropping, I don't know, or I don't think it's going to drop so low to the point where some people are thinking it'll go to like the 200s, the 300s, or even 400s, or that low. I honestly feel that way. So let's just wait and see how the data comes out for tomorrow. I do believe what Musk is saying is the truth. I do believe he's correct about that. And we're going to find out if the data really suggests what he's saying. With that said and done, It's going to be a big week for next week. We have CPI coming out. I'm giving you guys kind of like a future outlook of that and preparing you guys for that. And with that out of the way, thank you all so much for listening. Please remain calm, cool, and collected. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Tesla to the moon, because the long-term future is bright, and peace out.